It's so good to have you all here. Welcome. We got people from all over the world joining us today. So I'm so excited to have you all here. I'm also very excited you're going to get to meet later on in this call Hannah Sawicki, who is our director of the Quantum Human Design Program. Uh, Hannah, in addition to being the extremely organized and brilliant leader of our quantum human design training, is also the mama of Reflector. Is that right, Hannah? Reflector, right?
Manifesting generator.
Manifesting generator. God, why did my brain say reflector? All right. So Hannah's daughter said to her mom, I have to share this because it was so good. She said, Mama, I'm not a manifesting generator. I'm a love generator. So I like that. I think we all now have a whole new level of evolution for all of us in human design. So we're all evolving into love generators. That's pretty good. So we're going to be exploring today human design and evolution and the expanded expression of who we are in the context of human design. So as I said, I've got some really good information for you today. I want to introduce you to some of the core principles of quantum human design, give you a little bit about the history of human design and quantum human design. So take a deep breath, relax, and just let yourself be really present to this information. It's not super, super technical. It's really more of an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the whole spectrum of the story that is the story of human design. And a love generator is a manifesting generator, but we were joking that we're all love generators, Larkin. So good. And we've got grandmothers here. Hello, Meherbani. I hope I said that right. So, all right, let's take a moment and let's get ourselves started. You should have just housekeeping here. You should have a link to a worksheet that you can fill out as we go through our program today. I know that you learn better. Some of you learn better when you have something to work with to help you focus on the information. I like to teach people in ways that help them integrate learning across all levels of their being. So if you, the PDF of the worksheet that you have is a PDF fillable worksheet. So you can fill that out online as we go through the information. My name is Dr. Karen Curry Parker. I'm the founder and creator of Quantum Human Design and the Quantum Alignment System. I am a multiple best-selling author. Some of my human design books now have been published in more than 7 languages. I have my PhD in integrative medicine. I've been an emotional freedom techniques practitioner since 2000. I've been a life coach since 1998. These all seem like really long time ago dates. I studied with and worked for Ra Uru Hu, the founder of traditional human design. I've been teaching human design since 1999. I'm a Quantum University guest lecturer. I am a TEDx presenter. If you go to TED.com and search for my name, you will find my TED Talk there that's all about burnout. And I am the host of the Quantum Revolution podcast. You can look up quantumrevolutionpodcast.com and you'll see that we have a new episode that came out today. And I'm particularly proud of it because it's all about hustle and right timing. So I'm going to give you just a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about who is human design for? And in particular, if you're interested in human design pro trainings, who is the pro training for? We're going to talk about the dilemma of human design and why it actually matters. We're going to talk a little bit about traditional human design and quantum human design and why you need to know both. We're going to talk about some of the science behind conditioning, a big theme in human design, and most importantly, the science behind deconditioning, another big theme in human design. I'm going to give you an overview of the quantum human design professional training, and we're going to talk about how knowing who you are and how you are, how you operate in the world, and really learning how to leverage human design in particular not only helps yourself, but it helps your families, it helps your clients, and it changes the world. Most importantly, it helps you if you're working with clients or you're thinking about working with clients. Human design is an incredibly powerful tool that helps accelerate and amplify your clients' progress as you coach them or you work with them. By the way, human design to me is not an exclusive tool I just taught a workshop last Saturday, and I had a beautiful gentleman in my training who is an expert, a world leading expert on the Enneagram. And he kind of wanted to get into a little bit of a competitive conversation about the Enneagram and human design. And I said, well, hold up, time out. This is not actually a competition. Human design is a system that integrates into pretty much every system I've encountered. So it is a complementary tool, not something that you use to replace what you already have, which I think is an important thing to understand because I find that most of us, if you're here today, you're probably what I like to consider to be a Renaissance person in the world of healing and coaching and teaching and being a thought leader. And most of my clients and most of my students have at least 18 certifications. And so if that feels like you, human design is never going to ask of you to give up what you already know, but it's a really great way to integrate a different understanding or a new facet of what you already know. So today's training is going to be for people who want to study human design more deeply for themselves, for their friends and family, and for fun. It's for people who want to build or scale a quantum human design business, or if you're looking to build a side stream of income. It's also for people who want to accelerate and improve the outcomes of your coaching clients or your healing clients. So let's start first with talking about traditional human design and quantum human design, and actually why you need to know both. So I have to just share with you the story of how quantum human design evolved. So as you may have seen in the beginning of my presentation, I started first working for Ra Uru Hu and Human Design America, and I learned and I taught traditional human design. And I was teaching traditional human design probably for about maybe 8 years when I started to notice that my clients were changing. In fact, in the beginning, most of my clients were projectors. In fact, almost all of my clients were projectors. So I was doing lots and lots of readings for projectors. And I started to realize that I was beginning to have a lot of clients who were coming to me and saying, I really love human design. I know there's something in there, but I feel like the way we talk about it and the way we use it, it feels really limiting. And the reason why I think a lot of my clients started to feel like some of traditional human design was restrictive is that I started to attract a different kind of client. I started to attract a lot of clients who'd already done a lot of interpersonal work. You know, this was in 2010, 2009, 2010. A lot of my clients that were coming to me had already had a long time meditation practice. They'd done therapy, they'd done coaching, they'd done a whole lot of inner work, and they saw that there was something of value there with human design. Some of my clients even had already been following their human design, but they wanted a little bit more. And when I started to look at coaching and coaching clients and how to really better help them, something came to me in the back of my mind. It was a memory of something that Ra had said, and Ra actually said quite often. Ra used to say, someday I'm going to write an awakened Ravi Ching. So if you're familiar with traditional human design, you know that Ra wrote or channeled a book called the Ravi Ching, which is basically a guide to all of the parts of the human design chart. What Ra used to teach is that the the human design as it is in the traditional human design as it is today is actually a tool to speak to what he called the not self. The not self being that story that we tell about who we are and how we are that's limited, that's conditioned, those places where we've been entrained by our families of origin, by our belief systems, by our ancestral lineage, even from our collective conditioning, those stories that we tell about ourselves that are limited. And that human design, traditional human design, is designed to help you break free from that conditioning. And that someday, he said, he would write a different version of human design for what he called the awakened human. Now, Ra passed in 2011, and that voice of that me just hearing and re-listening again and again in my head to Ra saying, someday I'm going to write the awakened Ravi Ching, and realizing, well, Ra was gone. And that role, that job of taking human design and continuing to evolve it and finding a way of speaking about human design that spoke to the evolved potential of the human was not done, that nobody was left really to actually finish that work. And then I realized at a certain point that maybe that was my job to do, that I could take the language of traditional human design, take it into, I actually took it into the lab. I keep forgetting to show you all. Hold on. This is the thesaurus we used. So we took all the vocabulary words in human design and we looked at all the different sort of similar words. And then we went into a lab, a cymatics lab, and we actually looked at and measured the frequency of language. And so I consciously, over the years, many years, created an entirely new vocabulary for the parts of human design. Does it replace traditional human design? No, not at all. In fact, it's not supposed to. It's just continuing the work of human design, continuing to have a new way of speaking about potential and giving us a compass, if you will, a place for us to point ourselves as we decondition and evolve and grow. As I said, traditional human design and quantum human design are a little bit different, but they're on a continuum. And you actually have to know both because many of your clients are going to come to you and they're going to be living out their conditioning. They're not going to be ready yet for quantum human design. Now, as I shared with you, human design was created by Ra Uru, who it was a body of received information that was received over the course of 8 days during supernova 1987A. So the picture on the left here is a picture of supernova 1987A. What Ra was told was that the information of human design was in the neutrino stream, that's stardust, basically, stardust and dust from the sun, and that these small particles, these neutrinos, trickled in through the atmosphere, hit us all in the top of the head center, and some of us received this information consciously, and some of us received it unconsciously, which is why if you feel like human design somehow feels familiar to you, and a lot of people tell me that, it might be because you're remembering that it's in you, it's in our bodies. And I have to just say, this is a weird part of human design, but roll with me on this. Sometimes when people talk about, or my students talk about their experience with human design, a lot of my students tell me that they almost kind of know it. They don't know how they know it, but they know it, or it feels so familiar. It triggers kind of a deja vu kind of experience with the system. Certainly that was my own personal experience. And I find that oftentimes if it's yours to study, you almost will feel called. It's almost like the system itself calls us and that we're here to use this tool, this powerful tool, as a way to help people wake up to their potential and decondition, untangle themselves from the programming that keeps them from seeing their beauty, their power, their excellence, that unique and vital and irreplaceable role that only they can play in the cosmic plan. So again, traditional human design helps you discover who you are, but most importantly, it really helps you discover who you're not, because oftentimes we think who we're not is who we are, but actually who you are might be something completely different. It's also a powerful tool to help you learn to live true to your original blueprint. It's a system that is taught through the lens of a doctrine that Ra called no choice. And what Ra used to teach is that we have no choice. We have no choice but to follow the trajectory of our destiny and be who we are, and that basically you kind of get what you get. Now, I will say that one of the many places where I'm a little bit of a rebel in the traditional human design community is I actually believe that we do have choice. And in fact, if you look at the fact that human design is comprised of Eastern and Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, Judaic Kabbalah, and a little bit of quantum physics, all of those esoteric components of human design have built into them the capacity to learn how to choose consciously. And I really do believe that human design is a tool that helps us learn how to choose consciously. But when we're conditioned, when we forget who we are and how we are, when we become entrained by the cultural narrative, when we're conditioned, we actually don't have a lot of choice. We react instead of creating deliberately. And of course, as I just shared with you, traditional human design as it's taught is actually not complete. And that's according to Ra, that Ra never got to complete the training. So here's some problems with looking at human design, traditional human design, outside of the context of the big picture of what it was intended to be. First of all, traditional human design is not designed to be a permanent lifestyle. So one of the things that we talk about in traditional human design is type and strategy and authority, which are very, very important parts of human design. Following the strategy for your type is a prescription for healing. In fact, the real intent, if you will, of traditional human design, if you want to really simplify it, is to get you back in your body, is to get you back connected to that inner compass that we all have that aligns us with our destiny, our right path, our true self. And that for most of us, we become conditioned over time in our journey with our families, as we go to school, as we become citizens of our communities in the world, right? We internalize the message that there's a formula for success, and we learn to follow that formula, successfully or not, right? We learn oftentimes, piece by piece, sentence by sentence, statement by statement, that it's not okay for us to be who we are and how we are. And we learn ultimately sometimes, and this is a hard thing to think about, but oftentimes we learn to disconnect from our body. Because if we don't disconnect from our body, it's really hard for us to follow the formulas that we're taught because they're oftentimes untrue to who we really are. And we have to numb out our connection to our compass, to our true self, to our decision-making capacity, because we can't follow our true path and also be conditioned. We can't follow the formulas that society tells us we have to follow to be successful and still be true to who we are. And so what happens over time is we oftentimes just get disconnected from the body. We get disconnected from our decision-making authorities. We get disconnected from that inner truth. And following your strategy and learning your authority is a prescription to get you back in your body, to get you back connected to that inner compass that allows you to recognize and feel and sense and know what's your right place, what's your right path, how do you follow what's true and right for you. I also just want to add that some of the things that we teach in traditional human design, like the fact that we teach in human design that you have to follow strategy and authority for 7 years, because in 7 years, all of your cells replace themselves. That's actually not true. Some do, but a lot don't, including brain cells and heart cells, which are actually essential parts of your identity and where you hold and store your identity in your body. And so there are a lot of parts of ourselves that don't replace, no, a lot of cells in our body that don't replace themselves. And so you're not actually a completely new person over the course of 7 years. You'll learn a lot. You totally will learn a lot. And if you follow your strategy for 7 years, the odds are pretty high that you'll get reconnected with your inner wisdom, with the wisdom of your heart, the brilliance of your mind, and learn how to use that mind as that creative tool that it is. But there's really no workaround. I hate to tell you this. There's really no workaround doing the work. We also really have to do sometimes that inner healing work, that inner alignment work, that inner reclaiming sovereignty over our narrative work. And when you do that work, you oftentimes can speed up the deconditioning process. You can augment that experience and make it happen faster. And I do believe that with the consciousness and the intention that we have right now at this time on the planet to move us forward into the evolution of this expression of the human story that we're in the middle of, I actually think that we're supposed to be doing it in faster than 7 years at this time. And that all of these tools that we've learned, EFT, energy psychology, somatic therapies, all these things that we've been doing, meditation, that all of these new modalities that have really sprung into the mainstream over the last 20 to 25 years are part of the universe, if you will, or the cosmos wanting us to evolve faster, more effectively, decondition more quickly, because the world needs us to be more fundamentally creative in every way, because we've got a world to change. We've got a world to evolve. So let's talk for just a minute about basic quantum creativity, because one of the things that you're going to see is that human design really gives you back power and control, if you will, or at least influence over your capacity to create what you really want in your life. So whether you're doing this for yourself or whether you're learning this as a tool to use with your clients, part of what you're doing is you're helping your clients or yourself regain sovereignty over your creativity. You're not going to be reacting out of an old story or old pattern anymore when you understand your human design. You're going to move into a place where you can consciously and deliberately begin to craft and create the life you were born to live, the fullest expression of your potential. So as I go through these next slides, I'm going to break down for you the building blocks, if you will, of the creative process. And I'm going to show you how your human design influences what you create. So the first part of this process is called the unmanifest reality or the quantum field. So right now, as you're listening, so take a breath because I want you to really sense this because it's pretty mind-blowing when you really get this. Right now, at this moment, as you listen, you are sitting in a field of unlimited potential that's not manifest yet. There are an infinite number of options for your current reality right now that are sitting in this field of information, and you're smack dab in the middle of it. And the reality of it is you could actually choose a whole lot of different options than the one you're in right now. So think about that for a minute. Just think about that for a minute. The second part of the creative equation, if you will, so you have part of the medium, which influences what are you choosing out of that infinite field of potential. You have what's called a mental and emotional body. This is where you carry what Ra called your conditioning. So this is where you hold the memories and the emotional artifacts of everything that's happened to you, your lived experiences. This is where you hold your ancestral programming. This is where you hold your collective conditioning, where the cultural narrative you grew up in lives. This is anything about you, including your DNA, that makes you who you are. So you basically have this story that you tell yourself and the world about who you are and how you are. And this story lives in this mental and emotional body, which is in essence just a filter. It's just a filter. And it's a filter that's choosing consciously or unconsciously which option are you pulling out of that quantum field of infinite potential and manifesting into your life right now. We have another part of the creative equation, the subtle body. This is the energy template for what you are either in the process of beginning to create or manifest, what you're in the process of unmanifesting. It's a template that kind of holds everything in your life together. And so when we talk about the aura or the biofield or your energy field, this is the energy field that's basically holding your life in place. And so when we start to make changes, when we start to heal, we start to tell better stories about who we are and how we are, our energy changes. And that energy change holds in place or creates, if you will, an energetic matrix for the physical reality to begin to drop in, to manifest. And of course, if you're in the process of unmanifesting, discreating something out of your life, it sort of trickles into the energy field and then eventually dissipates. If you work with people on this level, you might be an energy healer, you might be an EFT practitioner, if you use homeopathics or flower essences, even essential oils, or even quantum healing. If you're using any kind of energetic healing modality, part of what you're doing is you're working with clients on a subtle body level. And in the more advanced programs that we teach, like the quantum alignment system, we include flower essences, custom blended flower essences that Jamie Nokomis has created. She spent years now going through all the parts of the chart and looking at the frequencies of the parts of the chart and correlating the frequencies of the parts of the chart with these amazing flower essences. And we use those in conjunction with quantum human design and EFT to help people stabilize the changes that they make when they're creating something new and better. The last but not least part of the creative equation is your current life right now. Okay, so this is everything in your physical reality right now is the collapse, if you will. That's what we say in quantum physics. You've collapsed the quantum potential. Basically, you've moved something out of the quantum field into your tangible reality based on the filters that you have, the stories you tell about who you are and how you are. So a more simplified way of looking at this, in this slide, you'll see at the top of the slide, this quantum field of infinite possibilities, these moving, zipping, non-manifest particles. In the bottom of the slide, you'll see your life right now. And in the middle, you've got sort of this filter. And that filter is the story of who you are. And included in that filter, by the way, is your human design. So the more you optimize how you live your chart, the more you change what's in that filter, and the more you can gain control, sovereignty over what are you choosing out of that quantum field of infinite possibilities, and what are you manifesting in your life right now. So in other words, if we're going to keep it really simple, you are the story that you tell about yourself. And really, when I teach human design, one of the things that I really love to do is use human design as a conscious storytelling tool. And actually, in the research that I did for my PhD, we looked at the impact of conscious storytelling and using conscious storytelling as a way to actually amplify physical health and wellness. We know that when we tell really good stories, we actually can improve our immune function. So scientists know that if they measure a quantum particle, that is a building block of matter. We're talking about this right now. My daughter's taking a course, a chemistry course about carbon cycles. And we've been talking a lot about physics and chemistry and quantum particles. But if you look at a quantum particle, that's the building block of matter. Quantum particles in the quantum field are moving. They move in waves. And if you were a quantum physicist and you were looking at this quantum particle, you would be able to either measure its movement. So you'd be able to measure like how fast is it moving? What kind of movement does it have? Or you can measure its location. You could have an expectation about, based on its movement, this quantum particle is going to be over here. The irony and the weirdness about quantum human design is that that expectation creates reality. And quantum particles, when you have an expectation about where they're going to appear, they tend to follow the expectation. And so you can't measure the movement and the location at the same time. So you can measure the particle wave, or you can measure the location of the particle, but you cannot measure both at the same time. The reason why this is important is that movement, that quantum field, which is in constant movement, represents pure potential. It's just all kinds of different fields of information on a quantum level. Location is what creates manifestation, and that manifestation happens because of expectation or meaning. Meaning, if we have a meaning about something, we have a meaning about a potential, an archetype. It's the meanings that we have about a potential or an archetype that determine how it manifests in our life. So the meanings that you have about things, about life, about the parts of life, about the parts of the story of your life, the meanings that you have are determined by your conditioning field, meaning by your experiences, by what has happened to you and the history of all that makes you you. If you want to create a different state of well-being in your life, if you want to change your story and have a better story, have a better manifestation, you have to change the meanings that you have. You have to start telling a different story. So what does that mean? It means our perception of the world determines what we create. In other words, our expectations and our potentials, the stories we tell about who we are and how we are, determine which potentials do we activate out of the quantum field. So I want to invite you to just take a moment and look at this slide. And you'll see on the slide the word serve, right? The word serve. I want you to take a moment and in the chat, just write down when you see the word serve, what does the word serve mean to you? What does the word serve mean to you? So Steve says golden rule, lift people up, to help others, to serve others, to help, to assist, to reward, to deliver. Somebody said something beautiful in Spanish and I can't read it because it moved too fast. To empower, devotion, deliver your gifts, to assist, to guide, to be treated with love, contributing, express. You guys have really good meanings about serve. Helping myself and others be, think, say, and do more than we think we can. Nice one, Suzanne. Show up in accordance with my design, contributing to others, my purpose. I love all that. I love you guys. To love, that's a good one. Create more beauty. Beautiful. I love all that. That's so good. That's so great. So when we think about this word to serve, right? This is a word that has a lot of different meanings, right? It can be to do all those beautiful things that you all just listed in the chat. Sometimes to serve can mean also to give of yourself, right? Sometimes even in the shadow, you can give your life for someone, right? Now to serve, that verb is just an archetype. It's just a part of a story. What determines how we experience this word is the meanings we have, the stories we tell, right? So let's talk about what just happened when you saw that word serve and you looked at my slide. When you saw the word serve and you looked at the slide, it started a photon storm in your brain. That's a storm of light. That photon storm happens so quick that some scientists think that decision making happens before we're consciously aware of it. And that's probably true. But that doesn't mean that the decision making process is unconscious. Let's remember that because that's important. So when you saw the word serve, it started this photon storm in your brain. That photon storm, in turn, caused your body to produce, your brain to produce neurotransmitters. Those neurotransmitters, in turn, caused your body to produce an emotional response based on the neurotransmitters you just created. So stop, take a moment, take your right hand. Don't do this if you're driving. Stretch it over your left shoulder. Don't do this if you have a rotator cuff injury either. And pat yourself on the back because you literally just turned light into matter. Good job. That's how powerful you are. Those neurotransmitters and that emotional response either programmed your heart into a state of coherence. I suspect most of you were in a state of coherence because we had some beautiful meanings around the word to serve. Now, if you were burned out and exhausted, or maybe you were feeling like you needed some downtime for yourself, or if you were feeling taken advantage of, or if you were feeling like you gave too much service and it's not fair, or maybe you felt like people who didn't deserve it were getting service and you deserve more service. If you had what we'll call shadow meanings of the word to serve, those neurotransmitters might have created an emotional response that kicked you into a state of non-coherence or reactivity, which in turn creates a state of fight or flight or fear and actually decreases our creativity and our creative response and keeps us stuck in old patterns. Photons, that light, is part of our creative medium. Well, what inspired the movement of the photons in the first place and what inspired the creation of the specific neurotransmitters that you just produced? Your story, the story you tell about who you are and how you are. A good story creates a state of coherence that's a highly creative state that increases your well-being and it increases your choices, by the way. A story that is rooted in non-coherence creates fear, resistance, reactivity, and it actually shuts down our creative response and decreases our creativity. If we want to create a different reality, we have to tell better stories. We have to tell better stories that match what we want. So if your story creates your reality, or you may have heard it as my thoughts create my reality, right? If who you are is creating your reality, then you have to ask this very important question. Who are you? And what story are you telling about yourself? In other words, how have you been conditioned? And how is that conditioning impacting your perception of yourself and the story you tell about who you are and how you are? And do you like the story you're telling? Because if you do, please keep telling it. Please keep growing and evolving it. And if you don't, then we have to tell a better story. You deserve a better story. All right, take a second. Take a moment if you need to. Remember, you have a worksheet. Fill out your worksheet. Think about all the things we just learned. Maybe you learned something new about yourself. All right, let's talk a little bit about the science of conditioning and deconditioning. When we talk about human design and we look at traditional human design teaches about conditioning. Remember, conditioning is how you learn the story about who you are. In traditional human design, we talk about conditioning happening exclusively through our centers that are open. So when you look at your chart and you see all the whiteness in your chart, everywhere where you have whiteness is where you're taking in energy from others and you're amplifying it. And when you're amplifying that energy, you're oftentimes experiencing the amplified energy of others, and it's actually hijacking your own perception of yourself. And over time, we actually oftentimes learn to identify with those hijacked elements of our energy field. And so certainly openness by center is an important way to understand conditioning, but it's not the only way. And that's the piece that we talk about more in quantum human design. In quantum human design, we also talk about sometimes you get imprinted. You get imprinted by your family belief systems. You get imprinted by how your parents behave. You get imprinted by your environment. This is science, right? We know that your brain literally gets imprinted by what's around you. So your environment when you're young and growing up is also really important in terms of your conditioning. We also know from human design that you actually inherit your human design chart or elements from your human design chart from your grandparents. And that sets us up to be into these very interesting intergenerational energy patterns, right? So you grow up in a family, your parents have a design, you have a design, you give birth to children, and now they're living out certain elements of your parents' human design. And you can see, okay, the power gradient has shifted, and now you're living out similar energetic themes, but through the lens of being a parent yourself and experiencing these energies with your children. We also know that our genes, our genetics, influence our personal narrative and oftentimes our reactivity. There are protein codes that regulate your gene expression, and those protein codes will oftentimes influence what we choose and how we choose, especially if you have trauma in your ancestral lineage. Now, we can carry up to 14 generations of memories, if you will, on those protein codes in our epigenes. You start thinking about that, that's a lot of memories from a lot of people. The odds are pretty high there's some kind of trauma in there. And part of what we know too is that storytelling, telling better stories, being optimistic and having a positive expectation of outcome can actually change our gene regulation. And last, but certainly not least, our own lived experiences condition us. What happened to you, the experiences you had, what your relationships were like, those things can also influence how you perceive yourself. The reality of it is when we talk about no choice and not having a choice or not being as fully activated with our creativity, we have limited choice or no choice when we're conditioned. When we're conditioned, we're reacting out of old patterns. Once we decondition, when we get back control over our own story and we understand how to use our energy effectively, how to consciously choose the story we tell about who we are and how we are, and we get to tell it in the way that we want, that allows us to step into the full expression of our potential, we have infinite choice. We have a whole lot more choice than when we're conditioned. And so that deconditioning process is so vital to human design and ultimately, as you will learn to see, in quantum human design. So I shared a little bit with you at the beginning about the history of quantum human design. I want to break it down for you just a little bit more here. So quantum human design is a way of cataloging the story you're telling. So one of the things that happens is when we start to go, okay, I don't like my story. It's not working for me. It's very hard to know what part of the story isn't working, right? So if I say, what's your story about money? Is it a good one? And you're like, well, maybe, but I'm looking at my bank account. It's not exactly what I want it to be. I think I need a better story. You might not know where specifically to start tackling your story to have a different story about money. And so what quantum human design gives us is a very systematic way to begin to analyze your story so that you can start to look at where do I need to shift and change my personal narrative. Where do I go to find a Rolodex? That's an old phrase. That's me. I put that word there. Maybe a database is a better word of all the parts of your story. So quantum human design does all of that, right? It gives us a way of cataloging the story, actually gives us some concrete tools to help us change our personal story. It gives us a database of all the different parts of the story so we can continue optimizing our story. It also helps us understand our soul curriculum, not just your life story, but your soul story and how you optimize the soul purpose of who you are. And of course, when you really understand your quantum human design, you also start to understand how do you interface? How are you consciously interfacing with your muse? Or I like to call it your muse, but some people might call it the quantum pulse or quantum creativity or your divine order or your divine path or the cosmos. You insert whatever word feels good for you. So again, going back to remembering the story is so important, right? If we want to create something different in our life right now, we have to start consciously choosing different possibilities out of that quantum field of infinite possibilities. And the medium through which we do that is through the story. We tell a better story we tell a better story, we have a better filter. We have a filter that we have influence over. And that filter helps us consciously choose better options, more fulfilling options, more abundant options, more loving options, more empowered options out of the quantum field of infinite possibilities. Now, human design is a synthesis, as we said, of Eastern and Western astrology, the Chinese, the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and quantum physics. Now, what do all of these systems have in common? This is important. They're all comprised of archetypes, meaning every one of these systems has at their heart parts of the human story. Now, what's an archetype? Well, an archetype is an idea, a symbol, a pattern, or a character type in a story. So your archetypes, the archetypes that make up your chart, they're just ideas. Your chart is filled with archetypes, and those are all just ideas, potential symbols, patterns, or character types in a story. So I like to say that your chart, and through your chart, we are each living our own personal story that's comprised of all of the archetypes in your quantum human design chart. Again, it's just a storytelling tool. So this is actually, I took all of the names of all of the parts of my personal chart and I put it in like a word cloud app. So these are like all of the parts, all of the archetypes, if you will, in my chart. You might want to do that. There's one of our students makes custom mugs for you with the word cloud of all the parts of your chart. I don't know if we have a Kari's link or not, if we want to post that. But go look at all of the words and the parts of your story. It starts to give you a whole new seed of what you could be including in the potential for your story, right? Now, here's the other thing about archetypes. When we look at an archetype, archetypes show up on a spectrum, right? If I say money, or if I say service or to serve, right? It has a baseline meaning, but it also has a shadow, right? I would say the shadow of to serve is martyrdom, right? And the high expression might be leadership, right? To serve. So every part of your chart, every part of your chart, your type, the centers, your lines in your profiles, all the gates, all the channels, all the circuits, all the different parts in your chart, all those little pieces have the potential to show up on a spectrum based on what you choose. So sometimes when we're not aware, right, when we're conditioned, we pick the low expression of the chart. Not consciously usually, but we do, right? We pick the low expression. Once we start following type, strategy, and authority, hopefully we bring that shadow expression back to baseline. That's traditional human design. Once we live at baseline for a while and it becomes natural and our natural way of living, then we begin to be able to consciously cultivate the higher expression, the higher potential. So in quantum human design, here's an example of what that might look like if we look at the archetype of projector. So in the conditioned expression or the shadow expression, we see that the projector has the potential to be burned out, that the projector can sometimes be bitter as the emotional theme, and that emotional theme is deeply tied to the theme of depletion. When they don't have energy, when a projector doesn't have energy, they're bitter. And that bitterness is repelling. But that bitterness is repelling because when you are an exhausted projector, you want to repel people. You don't want invitations. You need to restore, restock, replenish your energy, right? We know that sometimes in the shadow expression or the conditioned expression, the projector doesn't know when enough is enough, and they can feel ashamed that they can't find the energy to do the things that other people can do, and they struggle oftentimes with low self-worth. That's the shadow. Follow your type and strategy and your authority, and keep following enough to have it become an habitual part of who you are and how you are. You begin to express not the conditioned self, or the not self, as Ra used to say, but the baseline. You begin to live as the projector. And that is a person who protects their energy by waiting for the right people who see your vision and value you enough to recognize and invite you to share your guidance, right? When you live at that level for long enough, you get to the point where you start to intuitively sense and know, where do you need to go? What invitations and recognitions do you need to follow? What things do you need to maybe create on your own? Because now you've surrounded yourself with the right people and you value yourself and you know how to utilize your energy effectively. And you begin to live out that quantum purpose. And that quantum purpose is you expressing yourself as the orchestrator, the exalted expression of that baseline of the projector. And as the orchestrator, your purpose in life is to manage and guide others towards the fulfillment of their potential. And that fulfillment happens on multiple levels. It's not just through your guidance, it's also through your energy. And you begin to become a person who holds the template for the possibility of what's to come. And energetically, your presence in the room orchestrates alignment around potential. So I did, again, I told you I did a workshop this last week with an introductory human design and quantum human design workshop. And I had this projector tell me after I described the orchestrator, she was like, oh, I get it. This is why I hold events as an orchestrator. I literally hold them. Like I start them and then I delegate everything to everyone, but I am holding energetically, I'm holding the event. So your purpose as an orchestrator is literally to hold the energetic template of what's to come, to engineer energetically that subtle body, that energy field that becomes the fulfillment of the potential. When we start to work with the quantum human design, then we start to be able to, as specialists, take people not only from that conditioned shadow expression through the baseline expression as the projector, we begin to give them an idea of what's the fulfillment of your soul purpose. What's the bigger purpose of your type or all of the other parts in your chart? And how do we start moving towards the fulfillment of that highest soul potential, that quantum potential? Now, we are happiest and most abundant, and I believe most magical in our current awareness when we are creating in alignment with the highest expression of the archetypes that comprise our authentic self and our unique energy blueprint, and of course, your quantum human design. And so this gives us this really new way of stretching out the fulfillment and the story of the parts of the human design chart. Now, you have to know who you are designed to be, what archetypes are part of your soul curriculum in order to know, in order to take back control over how you create and what you truly want. So again, coming back to our little slide here, if you want to start creating something different or you're coaching people and you want to help them create something different, part of what you have to do is you have to help them figure out what are the parts of the story. What are the parts that are part of my soul curriculum? What are the challenges in the soul curriculum? Because every soul curriculum has a challenge in it because we're learning, right? We get challenged and we learn. Your goal when you work with people and bring them into quantum human design is to really help them see the whole spectrum of that story and then begin to move them not just to baseline, but show them how they can expand beyond the baseline into that exalted quantum expression of the true potential, the fulfillment of the true potential of who they are on every level. So this is a big question that comes up for us a lot. What problems do your clients have that keep them from reclaiming their power and cultivating their well-being in every area of their life? Well, some of the problems we deal with is, how do I truly know who I am? That's a big issue that comes up a lot in coaching. If your client doesn't know what they want, and they don't know how to really define what they want, that's a big thing. If they don't have clarity about that, really probably what's going on is they don't know who they are, or they're trying to be something that they're not. And so they think there are things they should be doing, but they can't do them because it's not actually part of who they are and what they really want. So the solution that you learn to give them when you understand how to use human design and quantum human design is you teach them how to understand their conditioning and how you teach them how to stay connected to their authentic self, no matter what's going on around them. So when we give people the gift of understanding their human design and their quantum human design, we actually anchor them in their values, their core values, the core essence of who they are. And that makes them highly resilient. That makes them capable of pivoting and shifting, but at the same time, staying true to who they are, no matter what's going on around them. The second thing that a lot of our clients struggle with is, how do I make good decisions, right? And of course, part of what you learn to give your clients as a quantum human design specialist is you teach them how to trust their body's authority and how to use their strategy by type until they can deepen that connection to their natural decision-making capacity, that natural compass within them. The third problem that we oftentimes see with our clients is they're trying to approach success using a one-size-fits-all approach. And of course, we know that we're not all designed to follow that formula. It works for some people, a very small percentage of people, probably 4% of the people on the planet. Most of us have our own path of crafting success. And at the heart of that success is authenticity and self-love and self-worth and self-trust and empowerment and decisiveness and emotional wisdom, core parts of the decision-making process. And one of the things you do as a quantum human design specialist is you actually help your clients discover their unique way of creating so that they do create with their energy, not against it. Some other problems that you might see with your clients is and I get this question a lot, how do I know my gifts and how do I strengthen them? Well, quantum human design is a powerful way to help your clients define, so they have to know what they are, and then reclaim their natural gifts so that they can truly fulfill their potential. This is what you learn to do, these core things and more. This is what you learn to do as a quantum human design specialist. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to give people. I want to teach them how to reconnect with their body. I want to help them remember who they are. I want to teach them how to regain sovereignty over the story they tell. I want to help them really explore their gifts, strengthen those gifts, and move themselves into the fulfillment of that potential. That's one of the things you're going to learn, one of the many things you're going to learn to do as a quantum human design specialist. So let's talk a little bit about, if this is really turning you on, let's talk a little bit about what does it take to become a quantum human design specialist. So I have been training people professionally to become quantum human design and human design specialists since 2005. One of the things that we love to do and we feel is one of our greatest strengths is we give you a training and a support system that helps you not only learn quantum human design, but you learn to start and grow your quantum human design practice. And we teach you how to learn human design in a really integrated way across all learning styles. So I'm not going to lie, and this is important, and don't let this discourage you because I know all the workarounds with this. This is a huge body of knowledge. In the training that I offer, you're going to learn all about traditional human design and you're going to learn about quantum human design. So it's like you're learning almost two different ways of doing human design, and it's a lot of information. We teach you how to do this in a very integrated approach, and we teach you how to do this in a way that's self-study, that also has built into it live interaction, if you choose, live places where you can connect with us, connect into community, and integrate what you learned so that you're not just trying to figure it out with your mind, but you're really moving it into your body and your practice. So we have a lot of places and spaces where, as you go through the training process, you actually can learn, but also learn in the integrated approach, in a community supported approach, in almost a mentorship capacity. So our learning program is an online self-paced learning process. So there are 4 levels in the quantum human design training. Each level has a series of instructional videos, slides, study questions, and additional student resources that you can complete in your own time at your own pace. So we've had students, Hannah's going to hop on in just a minute. We've had students that have like whizzed through this program in like 3 months or less, which blows my mind. We have students that take a lot longer, and there's no right or wrong way in terms of speed. You do it your way. And we really set it up to where you do it your way. That's the most important part of learning how to use quantum human design and taking this training. We can't force people to do it in a specific way with human design, because human design is all about finding your own way. And so we really support you in finding your own way to best integrate all of this information. In addition to the self-paced learning, we have live forums and an online community. So we have once a week, we have a live forum. So in forum, it's on Zoom. It's not like live, but it's on Zoom. So once a week, we have a live interactive forum where you can either pre-submit questions if you can't be live, or you can join us live, where we have amazing conversations. There's so much gold in these forums. Once a month, we also have an evening forum so that if you are in Australia or New Zealand or Taiwan and some of the places where we had some amazing students show up, Or if you work during the day, you have another place, another time during the month where you can connect with us live. I lead those forums. Hannah's there during those forums. You're going to get not only information from me and Hannah and all of her brilliance, but you'll also get connected to our human design student community, which is, we call you guys the army of love. It is like the most beautiful community of humans I think you'll ever have the privilege of being in partnership with and in community with. So lots and lots of opportunities for you to get support, for you to come and bring your case studies if you have students or you have clients, places where you can come and get your questions answered in many ways. Hannah leads once a month our chart chat live. So you also get an opportunity to do skill building. So we have skill building sessions built into the training. Again, this is where you're talking to a real life human being online. And you'll work with your cohort, your student peers. So you're going to get to be more comfortable and familiar with reading charts so that when you start working as a certified quantum human design specialist, you're not spending hours trying to prepare for a reading. Your natural chart reading ability will be so ingrained in your practice that it becomes easy for you to step right into building and starting your business. You can expect with this process to build your confidence and experience the wisdom that lives inside of you. I want you to integrate your own understanding and not just parrot. I'm not teaching you to parrot. I'm teaching you to integrate this your way so that you're serving your clients your way. And of course, you're as always connecting with our community. So I'll leave this up. You all can take a screenshot of this if you want to read this. This is from one of our certified specialists, Jacqueline Kent. She says, I am at loss for words, which is rare. Ha ha. I'm thrilled to have obtained my level 1 certification. I actually cannot even comprehend the amount of, I can't see that because this is in the way, material that comes along with it. I have barely scratched the surface with the library of resources and support that's now available to me to help me continue with this very important work. The team is just incredible. I totally agree. And so real along with it. I cannot even quantify this training as being of good value. It is absolutely invaluable. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is just a screenshot of our resources. So we don't just help you learn and help you integrate your learning. We also give you access to business resources to help you get started doing readings as soon as you certify in our level 1. So as soon as you become a quantum human design certified level 1 practitioner, specialist, you have all of these different business resources to get you started right away. Because the more success you have with your business, the more people you can impact, the more good you can do in the world. Jasmine Love, one of our students, says this program is everything I vibrated to the universe that I wanted and more than I anticipated, and confidently doing readings and have increased my business referrals coming to me with no advertising. I'm doing exactly the work I'm designed for at this time. More people achieve alignment with their inner being. Thank you. Karen is so knowledgeable and shares freely everything she knows with nothing but positive intent. And Karen's whole team is amazing. Yes, they are. And I know without a doubt that I will establish a successful and sustainable business in the next year that will allow me to drop the job and follow my passion full time with love and joy. And Daniel Wang says, this is such an amazing community. Again, totally agree. Totally agree. I'm so excited to have discovered it and be a part of it. The support and the amount of resources is staggering in a great way. I so appreciate the attentiveness of the process in every level. I'm also grateful to Karen Parker for the work that she's been devoted to for over 2 decades now. And I feel privileged to receive the blessings of all the hard and passionate work over the years along with the whole team. Simply a wonderful journey that's getting better with each step. Daniel Wang, one of our students as well. So here's how it works. The quantum human design training has 4 levels of certification. Your learning experience will be sort of like this. You have, of course, as I said, the online self-paced learning. Each level has a series of instructional videos, slides, study questions, quizzes, additional student resources that you can complete in your own time at your own pace, and of course, live forums and online community. So you'll have a way every week to touch base with us live, and on some weeks in a month when it's Chart Chat Live, you'll actually have 2 opportunities during the week to talk to a live person. Plus, we have a very active private online community. It's not on social media. It's a private online community. So you can earn while you learn. Literally, as soon as you certify in level 1, you can start using quantum human design in your business. That means you can begin earning money using quantum human design while you continue to study and increase your knowledge. And then when you're ready, you can dive deeper. So each level goes more in depth. So there's more material to cover as you go. And ultimately, how quickly you move through and certify is up to you. And there's no right or wrong way to do it, just your way. And of course, we amplify your training with live learning. So there's all levels of training are self-paced, but in level 4, our final level, we have an additional live component. So in level 4, you learn the art of chart reading. And we specifically talk about reading the chart through the lens of money, relationships, physical health and wellness, life purpose. So you learn a lot of different ways to really target the needs of your clients so that you learn how to give specific readings that really answer your clients' most pressing questions. I want to just end before we take questions and remind you that the highest expression of humankind is full engagement and joy that allows us to evolve by learning from and leaving the past behind, by consciously and consistently expressing our authentic potential and making our unique contribution to the world, by taking our direction from spirit, by being physically vital, active too, by having all the resources we need to fulfill our destiny, and by taking actions that are only for the greater good of the world. In other words, our design shows us that we're designed to feel good being who we are and doing what we came here to do. And we're also designed, by the way, to be nice to each other. I want to just lovingly and gently say, be yourself. You, the real you, are the greatest gift you can give the world. And as quantum human design specialists, you help people remember their greatest gift. And not only that, you do your part to heal the world. So let's take some questions. If you have any questions, Hannah, are you ready to hop out?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Hannah's in a snowstorm right now, and so far her internet is still working. Yay. So
Oh, things got a little frozen for a second, literally frozen. So here with all of you. All right, let's get to your questions that you have for QHD training. First, Karen, can you just talk about the significance and all of the different levels? Like, so if you can do readings after level 1, what comes next in terms of level 2 and 3 and 4 and
So level 1 is all about type, strategy, and authority. Level 2 covers the centers and the profiles. Level 3 goes through all the circuitry, so you'll learn all the channels, all the gates. And then, as I said, level 4 is the art of chart reading. Now, I will tell you that a good introductory human design or quantum human design reading is going to be mostly type, strategy, and authority. So by level 1, you're already going to have enough information to give somebody, if you chose to. I don't recommend you do this, but you could give somebody an hour and a half of information about their type, strategy, and authority. Technically, you should probably only be like 45 minutes because otherwise you're going to fire hose your client. And they're going to be like deer in the headlights, but you will have a lot of information to begin to really give your clients powerful knowledge about who they are, and how they can start to shift and change their story.
Yes. Okay. And then can you just talk about how someone can incorporate quantum human design into their already existing practice, whether that's coaching or therapy or other energy modalities?
Totally. So one of the things that you're going to start to hear when you know human design and you start to listen to people and you start to assess people, and no matter what you're doing, you're always going to be assessing your clients. You're going to be assessing your coaching clients. You're going to be assessing your healing clients. You're always going to gauge, where is my client now and what's going on? Where's the glitch in their story that might be showing up in their body, in their money, in their relationships? When you understand human design, it gives you a lens through which to really begin to analyze that story. So if you start to see, you'll see certain elements in a chart. Like, for example, let's say if you have a manifestor or an initiator in quantum human design, a projector or an orchestrator in quantum human design, or if you're a reflector, a calibrator in quantum human design, you already know straight off the bat, this is someone who is not designed to work in the traditional way that we think of as working. And when we start to look at work and the relationship between work, self-love, and money, you start to right there, just with that body of information, have a lot of knowledge about how do you need to really guide and steer this client towards realigning with their true story, a healthy story. And what do they need to do to begin restructuring their lives so that they stay more sustainable and avoid burnout?
Awesome. Okay. And then True asks, how do we find where all the archetypes are within the chart?
So everything that has a name in the chart is an archetype. So there are 5 type archetypes. There are 6 line archetypes for the profiles. There are 9 center archetypes. And of course, there are lots of circuits. There's 3 main circuits, and those have archetypes. There's 64 gates. Those are all archetypes. And so again, um, all of those parts that have a name are archetypes. So start thinking about that. Your chart is a story, right? This is just a story. And all these little bits in this chart is just telling the story of all the potentials of who you are and who you can be, and maybe who you don't want to be sometimes, right?
Yeah, and just to add to that too, I would say even if you're not looking into training for a professional purpose or for a business, even if
Mhm.
you're looking to understand your own archetypes and your energy type and how your energy flows, you will learn so much about your own design, not only just from absorbing the material and integrating it and everything, but also from our community. That's one thing I love about the space that we have is people you learn how to see someone and be seen in a whole new way that you might not have ever experienced before outside of this type of a space in this
Mhm.
community. So if you are like really interested in just discovering yourself more through this lens, you will learn so much through the training and also just from all of our lovely community. We have a lot of people even on this call who are
Right, right.
so
There's
it's
law. So
all
can I add one other thing?
yes, please.
I mean, I think the other part of it is it's not just the community. It's we have an incredible team. I am so fortunate and so blessed to be surrounded by, we call ourselves, they call themselves Team Quantum, right? Team Quantum, there's just a collection of leaders and teachers like Hannah and like Jamie and like Cass is behind the scenes, but we have just an incredible team of people here who are deeply involved and deeply invested in you finding your path to success and showing you what does it look like because you're no, there's me. I'm a manifesting generator. I'm not like everybody else. They're not like everybody else. We have a whole variety of different people who have embodied who they are. And that embodiment, I think, of authenticity and being in an environment of people who are really practicing what does it look like when you live true to yourself, even the messy bits sometimes, right? That when we are living true to who we are, it creates this place of influence for you. You get to see what does that look like, and it starts to give you, I don't know how to say this. It's like it takes a lot of courage to become authentic. It really does. You start to speak in a different way. You have a new vocabulary, right? You live differently. And it's not always in a way that gets celebrated. Like when you go home for Thanksgiving, if you're authentic at the Thanksgiving table, you're going to disrupt the family story, right? And so one of the beautiful things is you come back to this community and you're now in this place where not only are you watching people live authentically, you're actually getting an opportunity to practice it for yourself in a safe community where people do have their hands on your back and they celebrate you and they know you and you feel seen, heard, and recognized. Oftentimes, I think a lot of our students say for the first time ever, and that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, very huge. And with that too, we have a lot of people who will, they'll since it is all self-paced and you have the freedom and flexibility to be studying when you can, doing your quizzes when you can, joining live calls when you can, it allows for this like natural integration of your own personal journey and also knowing that you're supported and held in a network of, team and community that supports your natural journey and it's not like you have to complete training by a certain time or finish a certain like there is not this deadline regimen to it. It's very designed to support where you're at currently, and if that changes past, and we see this a lot with students, if you want to be in more of a business mode and then you take time to kind of integrate and permit and do your own thing and then you reemerge and you're reborn and you're like, here's my new website, right? We celebrate all of that in this space. So that brings me to a question I have from Kevin, who's wondering, I'm very intrigued by this, started following your work for a couple of months now, but how can I know if now is the right time to sign up? So What would you say to that, Karen?
Well, if I had charts, I'd be like, okay, here's how we're going to follow your human design. So I would say if you know your type, strategy, and authority, follow your type, strategy and authority. But here's sort of another thing. Does it excite you? Does it turn you on? Does the idea of helping people discover themselves, I don't know how to articulate this. I've been trying to articulate this probably for 25 years. There's something magical about human design. Like when you will have people come to you who will say to you, and I had this experience one time with a 70-year-old client. She started crying in a reading, which happens all the time, by the way, right? You start, sharing this information, your client starts crying, and they're going to say to you, oh my God, I feel like I've been seen for the first time in my life. That's a powerful gift to give someone. And that is a gift that fills your cup up in a way that nothing else can. And I'm not saying you don't need to also have a business and do the things you need to do to have a thriving practice if that's what you're choosing, of course. And we help you with that too. But that experience of on the daily having a job where you help people feel seen and you give them the vocabulary for the story that they feel in their heart that they've never been able to articulate about themselves. That's work. That's work that's worth doing. That's work that's worth working towards and fulfilling on a daily basis for sure. Yeah.
Love that answer. And I want to also address Trisha's question. It's similar to, access and updates and all of that. Yeah, like I said, it's you don't expire. Like your access into
Don't expire. We don't expire.
as long as our school exists, if we update, if we add things, we edit things, which we do a lot to keep
Mhm.
everything up to date, like those new little images and that chart, that pretty graph that everyone's like, oh, I love that. This makes so much sense for me with the orchestrator and then the projector and the conditioned expression. Like that's something that we just, I feel like created this past year. So we're adding in things often in terms of resources and tools and as long as you're a QHD student with a certain level and depending on which bundle you purchase and all of that, you will have any resources we add to our training, including our live calls.
Mm.
So we have, like Karen mentioned, we have forum, which is every Monday, 3 Mondays of the month, and then we have our night forum, which is fun. Um,
Yes.
and we have our chart chat monthly call where you get to
Also fun.
also very fun and to like Karen's saying, just see each other and practice and find that confidence and feel what it feels like to use your own voice, talk about the chart in your own way, see one another. And a lot of the times beautiful collaborations even just come from that as well. So I feel like that. Um, and then in terms of certification requirements, yeah, there are quizzes associated with the lessons. So that's how you complete your certification. And then once you watch all the lessons for level 1, for level 2, and so forth, then you get your certificate and you become a certified level 1 specialist and so forth. And then, like Karen mentioned, for level 4, even though we run the live calls starting in October, you will get access to all of the lesson materials so that you always have, something to study, something to dive into, something to be learning as you go.
Yeah. And especially with level 4 in conjunction with all the practical training you already get with levels 1, 2, and 3. In level 4, you're going to just really roll your sleeves up and learn, like, how do I do a life purpose reading? And you're going to practice doing a life purpose reading. You're going to learn about how do I do a money reading? And you're going to practice doing a money reading. And you're going to get a lot of hands-on practice with your cohort so that, again, our goal is for you to walk out of here feeling prepared and not letting the fear of I don't know enough, I haven't had enough practice, not having that even on your radar in terms of being ready to start going out in the world and serving.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with that, can you speak, Karen, just to someone who might be brand new to human design? Will this work for them? Or if they've studied at other schools and they have other previous knowledge, what would you say?
I would say this. So if you've never done it before, Great. We'll walk you through from start to finish what you need to do. Just, it's very easy. You're not going to have a challenge with it at all. If you are coming from other human design schools, great. We'll walk you through. So the way the training works, if you already have a background in traditional human design, is we integrate and you'll learn about the traditional human design. And then within those same training programs, like for example, if you're learning about the generator, you're going to learn about the generator and you're going to learn about the exalted expression, the alchemist. And you're also going to learn about some of the mechanics around deconditioning as well. So even in level one, we talk about integrating and supporting your clients in reframing that narrative and really helping your clients learn about shadow, baseline, quantum expression. So it'll take what you already know and build on it from the start.
Okay, well, I think that covers our live questions for today.
Awesome, awesome. So as you all see, we've got Hannah here. You all can't see behind the scenes, but we've got Cass here, we've got Jamie here, we've got already big parts of Team Quantum here just holding space because again, as a team, we're really invested in making sure you have a good learning experience so that you can really take this information and share it out into the world. So I want to thank you all for being here and for doing your part, whether you choose to join us, whether you keep learning, whether you're just exploring. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for being the person you were born to be. Thank you for playing your unique and vital and irreplaceable role in the cosmic plan. And thank you for giving us the gift of your attention and your focus and your time today. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you, Team Quantum. Thank you, Hannah. You guys be well. Take good care of yourselves. See you soon.